Discover the incredible journey, how turning down a 2K trip led to a life-changing surprise. Emma Sullivan stood in the dimly lit diner, the familiar smells of coffee and fried food swirling around her like a comforting embrace. Just yesterday, she received the call that could change her life, a 2,000 scholarship to a prestigious art workshop in the city. Her heart raced at the thought, colors bursting on canvases, fresh brushes in hand, dreams finally unfolding. But today, as she wiped the laminate table with a damp cloth, that dream felt like a distant whisper. Her father's health was failing, and the weight of her family's needs settled heavily on her shoulders. "No, Dad," she whispered, tears blurring her vision as he struggled to swallow at the dinner table. "I can't leave. Not now." Her father's frailty carved out a piece of her heart, leaving behind an ache she couldn't ignore. The workshop would have to wait. She had to prioritize. A sigh escaped her lips as she crumpled the acceptance letter and tossed it in the trash. Jake, her brother, would blast her for this. He had grand ideas of leaving their small Midwestern town, making a name for himself in a world that didn't know them. "You're throwing away your talent, Emma," he would argue, voice dripping with frustration. But loyalty ran deeper than ambition. How could she leave when her family needed her? In the corner booth, Frank, a retired veteran, caught her eye. "Emma, you okay?" he asked, serrated edges of his voice softening in concern. His stories of resilience were always an anchor. He'd survived serious battles, both in and out of uniform, and his wisdom always found a way to spark life back into her weary spirit. Emma managed to smile. "Not really, Frank. Just making tough choices. Sometimes you gotta paint your own road, kiddo," he said. "Do it from the heart." Inspired by his words, she pulled out her forgotten sketchbook from underneath the counter. The cityscape of dreams she once longed to paint came flooding back. She could feel the brush gliding over canvas, and her heart skipped. But the crunch of reality laid hard on her heart. The looming economic crisis, the uncertainty of every diner shift, and fear chilling the town. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into a blur of fork clinks and chatter as families gathered, faces familiar yet strained. Emma caught whispers of the diner facing closure, just like others. She felt the urge to do something that could wake the town's spirit back to life. The thought ignited a fire within her. "Let us bring everyone together," she said to herself one night, paint splattering her fingers as she started the community fundraiser idea. Her murals began to fill empty walls, vivid colors that echoed the laughter and hope of the town. But just when she felt her soul stitching together the frayed edges, Jake showed up at her doorstep with news that could shatter everything. That night, as she prepared for the event, the shadows grew long, and whispers of more secrets echoed in her mind. Unraveling threads of family and community loomed over her like a storm. Would Emma's efforts be enough to unite a community on the brink of change? Or would the hidden fractures drive her and Jake further apart, sealing her dreams in a box labeled sacrifice? As she stood looking out at the horizon, the questions hung heavy, and she knew, in the depth of her heart, everything was about to change at the edge of hope, and a twist she could never see coming. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a cascade of oranges and purples painted the sky, reflecting Emma's whirlwind of emotions. She stood at her easel, staring at the unfinished mural of the town that had become her canvas. Each stroke of vibrant color felt like a lifeline, a message of hope she wanted to share with everyone around her. But the looming shadow of Jake's visit haunted her thoughts. "Emma, look, I need to talk," he said abruptly, the front door creaking as he entered. His usual energy was dim, replaced by a seriousness that sent a shiver down her spine. "It's about Dad." Her heart raced. "What do you mean? Is he worse?" "Not worse, but He shouldn't be alone much longer. Jake ran a hand through his hair, revealing the vulnerability he usually kept hidden. We can't ignore it. Tension crested in the air, thick and suffocating. Everything they had endured was inching its way back into focus nights spent worrying, whispering plans that never materialized. Emma felt a tear slip down her cheek. I'm here, Jake. I'm not leaving him. He shook his head, frustration flaring in his eyes. You need to think about yourself for once. This workshop is not an option. She snapped, the heat of her emotions bursting forth. I can't just walk away. Dad's still here. How can you not see that? Because you're throwing your life away, he shot back. What good is being the family's rock if you're holding onto a dream that's slipping between your fingers? Don't you want more? The words struck her with the weight of an anchor. Did she want more? The notion of a life outside this town flashed through her mind, bright lights, bustling crowds, the freedom to create. But every time she envisioned that life, it was tied to a gaping hole where her family should be. Silence fell, heavy and uncomfortable. They both breathed it in, as if trying to fill the spaces between their hearts. Emma brushed a hand across the finished sections of the mural. Colors danced in the fading light, but her passion seemed muted. I'm organizing a fundraiser, she finally uttered, desperation mingling with determination. A way to bring people together. If I can just inspire them, maybe they will come together to save the diner, to save everything. Jake's demeanor softened, the edges of his frustration dulling. That's smart, Emma. But you'll need help. You can't do this alone. She nodded, hope glimmering in her chest. I'll reach out to the community. They care, I know they do. With a newfound sense of purpose, Emma grabbed her sketchbook and, flipping to a blank page, began to write down ideas: local artists, music, food. Each stroke reignited her spirit, a flicker of light in the encroaching shadows. However, just as the excitement surged within her, a sudden knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. She opened it to find a neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, standing with wide eyes and tremors of worry. Emma, I just heard they're planning to sell the diner, she said, her voice trembling. The whole town, they can't. We can't let them. Emma's heart sank deeper into her stomach, the air thickening around her. She felt like a marionette with strings being frayed, her dreams of painting a bright future hanging by a thread. Oh no, when? They said within a month, Mrs. Thompson replied, her shoulders slumping with resignation. The realization crashed over Emma like a wave. Time was running out, and the urgency to act was now more than ever. The town was on the brink, not only the diner, but the community she loved. Jake stepped forward, the bond between them reigniting. Let us do this, Emma, he said, determination in his eyes. Let us fight for it together. And so, what became a whisper of hope turned into a battle cry for the town. They flung open the door to the unknown, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Shadows whispered of tough days, yet underneath it all, the flicker of togetherness ignited a spark, leaving Emma questioning, would this newfound unity be enough? As they turned to gather the community, the phone rang. Emma answered, ready to embrace whatever came next, but would it bring unexpected news or heartache? That question hung heavy in the air. Emma's hand trembled as she held the phone to her ear, her heart pounding. She could barely hear the voice on the other end over the chaotic thumping in her chest. Hello? Emma? It's Julie from the community center. Hi, Julie, she managed to say, racing thoughts curving around her already tight emotions. I just got wind of some troubling news. Julie hesitated, a pause filled with dread. They announced they're selling the diner. You know, the one, your dad's place. I don't know what the townsfolk are going to do. A lump formed in Emma's throat, choking back any words that might escape. The mural she'd been painting flashed before her eyes, the diner painted proudly in the center, like the heart of their little town. We can't let that happen. Her voice cracked slightly, desperation creeping in. Exactly. That's why we need to rally. A fundraiser could be our best shot, bring everyone together. But we need a plan, Emma. Julie's voice filled with newfound urgency. Can you meet the committee tomorrow? Of course. Yes. I'll be there. A new surge of determination rushed through her. She hung up the phone, adrenaline thrumming in her veins. "That was Julie," she announced, turning to Jake, who had been waiting with bated breath. "The community center wants to meet about the diner. We can do this." Jake nodded, a spark of hope igniting in his eyes again. "We will gather everyone." Together they quickly began drafting plans. As the stars emerged in the deepening night sky, the pair filled notepads with ideas and lists of people to contact. Friends, neighbors, anyone who might offer their talents in the cause. The morning sun greeted Emma with a mix of optimism and anxiety. She arrived early at the community center, her heart racing as she spotted a small crowd forming outside the doors. Familiar faces, the ones she grew up with, some having not crossed her path in years. "Emma." Her old friend Lisa waved, her smile brightening. "I heard about the fundraiser. Count me in. I want to help however I can." One by one, more people stepped forward, sharing their ideas and talents. Musicians, local artists, bakers, all unified in their care for the diner and the spirit of the town. The room buzzed with energy, a vibrant tapestry of hopes and dreams. But just when Emma felt the momentum building, a sudden silence washed over the room as the door creaked open. An unfamiliar face stepped in, a stranger with a suit and a folder clutched tightly in hand. "Excuse me," he interrupted, asserting himself with an unsettling confidence. "I'm here to discuss the sale of the diner. It's not just going to be sold, it will be demolished to make way for new development." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Emma's heart sank, as if the very ground beneath her had broken apart. "Excuse me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "You can't do that." "Actually," the stranger replied without flinching, "it's already in motion. Sign here, and you can let go of this dream so we can move forward." The air thickened as tension mounted in the room, the gravity of their situation settling heavily on their shoulders. Hearts were on fire, fear mingled with outrage as everyone looked to Emma. "What are we going to do?" Jake whispered, his eyes searching hers. Emma felt the weight of the moment. The eyes of her community rested on her. Should she fight or plead? But then, she recalled the laughter at the diner, the warmth of the community, the mural that had once shimmered with promise. It pushed her forward. "We can't let this happen. We fight for what's ours." Her voice rang clear, igniting something within everyone gathered. But would her cry be enough to rally the town against formidable odds? The question hung in the air, electrifying yet laden with uncertainty. In this moment, would they find their strength, or would despair be their only visitor? Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest challenge was yet to come. Emma tried to steady her racing heart as the room erupted into whispers and murmurs. The air crackled with unease. She saw the faces of her friends, their brows furrowed and eyes wide with disbelief. The stranger stood at the front like a looming shadow, indifferent to their plight. "Listen," Emma called, her voice breaking through the chaos. "This diner is a part of our history. It's where we celebrated milestones and gathered as a community through thick and thin. We can't just let it go." As she spoke, she saw a few heads nod. "We can organize a protest," someone shouted, and the room buzzed with a new idea. "Or a town meeting," came another suggestion. Emma felt a flicker of hope. "Yes, let us show them how much this diner means to us." The stranger crossed his arms, an unimpressed look on his face. "This isn't a debate. The decision has been made at the top. You need to accept it." Anger surged within Emma, but she tempered it, trying not to lose her focus. "We need a united front. We can't let them just bulldoze our memories." Jake stepped up beside her. "What if we put together a petition? Gather signatures from everyone in town? Show the city officials how many of us care. We can make them listen." The idea ignited a fire in the room. People began murmuring excitedly, sharing plans among themselves. Visions danced in Emma's mind, families standing side by side, spreading hope and bridging their differences for a single cause. This was what community meant. "All right," she said, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions. "Let us get to work. We need someone to design a flyer, and we should create a social media campaign to get the word out." Hours passed as they brainstormed and divided tasks amongst themselves. The stranger remained in the background, his presence a grim reminder of the battle ahead. Emma didn't let it shake her. There was too much at stake. As the meeting wrapped up, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. The air buzzed with possibilities. Her friends gathered their notes and plans, promises of support echoing throughout the room. When they stepped outside, she took in the fresh air, hoping to inhale the strength she needed for the fight ahead. "Emma, you really inspired everyone," Lisa said, her voice warm with admiration. "I think we can actually pull this off." Her heart swelled. "Thanks, Lisa. I can't sit back and do nothing. This diner means so much to me and to all of us." "Just remember," Jake added, "this one be easy. Things could get rough before they get better." Emma nodded, her gaze shifting to the diner in the distance. "I know, but I'm ready." Determination settled deep in her chest. They were going to fight with everything they had, and she would not back down. As they all made their way home, Emma couldn't shake a deeper worry nibbling at her thoughts. What would they uncover in their battle? Would they really find the support they needed against the odds? In her heart, she knew the fight was just beginning, but she couldn't ignore the feeling that they were stepping into a path with unknown trials waiting ahead. The next day, Emma stood at the diner, her heart racing. Would her community show up for the protest? Would they rally as she hoped? With every ticking second, the weight of the upcoming confrontation pressed down upon her. She could only wait and hope, standing at the precipice of change. Could this journey strengthen not just a building, but the bonds of an entire community? Emma held her breath, ready to find out. Emma stood outside the diner, fidgeting with her hands, the weight of anticipation heavy on her chest. It was almost time for the protest, and all she could think about was how much this place meant to her and everyone in town. But would they show up? Doubts crept in like uninvited shadows, whispering that maybe the fight was futile. The air was electric, thick with possibilities. She looked down the street, scanning for familiar faces. Just then, she spotted Jake jogging towards her, a broad grin plastered on his face. Behind him trailed Lisa and a few others from their meeting. Relief washed over Emma. Her heart began to beat with a sense of unity. As they gathered, each person carried a wave of excitement, ready to stand together. The conversation flowed, filled with laughter and shared stories about the diner. Emma clung to those moments, letting them fill her with courage. She knew they were more than just a group fighting for a building. They were a family standing up for their love, their memories. "Did you see the flyer I made?" Jake said, pulling a crumpled piece of paper from his back pocket. "I think it looks pretty good." Emma took it, her eyes scanning the bold letters, "Save our diner." She couldn't help but smile. "This is perfect, Jake. Definitely eye-catching." More people arrived, each one carrying the weight of hopes and dreams, just like Emma. The once quiet diner had transformed into a beacon of community, bringing life to their struggle. Emma felt tears prick her eyes as warmth spread through her chest. Seeing everyone willing to fight filled her with an overwhelming hope. As the clock struck noon, the group gathered in front of the diner. Emma stood at the front, her heart racing. "This is our moment. Let us show them that we're not going to sit back and let them take this away from us." Cheers erupted from the crowd, a chorus of determination. Emma raised her hands, and they echoed her sentiment. "For our memories. For our community." Just then, a car pulled up, a sleek black sedan that contrasted harshly with the friendly charm of their diner. The stranger stepped out, looking every bit the man who could wield the power of the decision against them. The crowd grew quiet, nervous energy rippling through them. Emma's heart pounded louder than before. "What is he doing here?" she whispered to Lisa. "Maybe he has come to call it off," Lisa suggested hopefully, but Emma wasn't convinced. She could see the man's gaze sweeping over them, sizing them up like a hawk. He approached the group, a smirk creeping across his face. "I see you've decided to make some noise," he said, his tone mocking. "But you should know this isn't how things are done." Anger flashed in Emma's chest, but she pushed it down. "We're here to show you how much this diner means to us. You can't just wipe us away." His eyes darkened, and he looked past her at the gathering crowd. "Then let us make it interesting." What did he mean? Emma felt unease trickling in once again. Fine, she said boldly, tilting her chin up. We'll make it interesting. Whatever trials lay ahead, she knew today was just the beginning. The stakes were higher now, but her determination only grew. Would they find the strength to rise against not just the stranger, but whatever shocking truths awaited? The tension in the air was palpable, and as Emma squared her shoulders, she couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was brewing. What would it take to protect their place in history? Emma's mind raced as the crowd surged around her in a heartbeat of solidarity. They were standing together, but what was about to unfold might unite them in ways they hadn't yet imagined. Would this confrontation redefine their journey? Emma prepared for a fight that felt much bigger than she ever expected. The stranger took a step closer, his presence imposing. How about we turn this protest into a little competition? He suggested, his smirk unwavering. I propose a challenge. If your little group can raise the funds needed to keep this diner open in the next 2 weeks, I'll consider leaving it alone. But if you fail, his voice trailed off, leaving the threat hanging in the air like a dark cloud. Emma's heart raced, and she glanced around at the faces of her friends and neighbors. Was he serious? Could they really pull off such a feat? The murmurs began to rise again, uncertainty weaving through the crowd. Emma? Jake's voice broke through her thoughts. What do you think? She took a deep breath, needing to connect with her courage. We can do it. She called out, her voice shaking but steadying. We'll find a way. We have to. Think about it. The man sneered, crossing his arms. You barely have enough for the rent as it is. Do you really think your community can raise thousands in such a short time? His laughter echoed, and Emma felt it slice through her like a knife. The last thing she wanted was to show even a hint of weakness, but she couldn't back down now. You don't know us, she shot back, her spirit ignited. We've faced tougher challenges than this. We'll prove you wrong. The crowd erupted with renewed energy, voices ringing out in encouragement. Each person's face lit up with determination. Emma could see the fire in their eyes. They were ready. No one came to the diner just for food, they came for connection, for laughter, for solace. The diner was a part of something bigger. It was home. As they brainstormed ideas, excitement buzzed in the air. Jake suggested a bake sale, and Lisa chimed in with a coffee stand. What if we organized a community fair? Emma proposed, her mind racing with possibilities. Live music, games, and maybe even a raffle. We can get local businesses involved. The plans overflowed, a river of creativity and hope. They mustered ideas that could draw in crowds, all while countering the doubt the man had cast over them. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, Emma felt an exhilarating wave of unity wash over her. They had each other's backs, but the dark glimmer of the man's words lingered in her mind. This isn't just about the diner, she whispered to herself, glancing at her friends. It's about us. It's about showing that we can rise together. Yet, the weight of the challenge loomed. Time was not on their side. Each day was a countdown to that fateful end, where failure could mean the loss of something they could not afford to lose. Could they gather enough support? Would the community rally behind them, fully knowing what was at stake? As they ended their meeting and dispersed, Emma felt the knot tightening in her stomach. The stakes were set high, and they all had something to prove. Pulsing with adrenaline, she closed her eyes for a moment and saw a vision of the diner, alive and thriving, filled with laughter and warmth. It was a future she refused to let slip away. What would be the first step they'd take to turn this hope into reality? More importantly, could they face the stranger's challenge and emerge victorious, or would his sneer haunt them long after the diner had closed its doors? Emma took a steadying breath as dawn was following a storm. Change was brewing on the horizon, and she was ready to fight. But would they be prepared for what the journey would reveal about themselves and their community? The next morning, the sun rose gently, casting a warm glow over the diner. Emma's head swam with plans as she looped her hair into a hasty bun. She felt a mix of excitement and anxiety flip in her stomach. The challenge loomed up front, but the idea of losing the diner forced a fire to spark within her. As she arrived at the diner, she was greeted by the familiar scent of brewed coffee and fried eggs. The sounds of clattering plates and chatter welcomed her like an old friend. She glanced around to see her supportive crew already hard at work. Jake was setting up flyers with colorful designs, while Lisa organized a stack of baked goods in the display case. "Good morning, Emma," Lisa called out cheerfully, a smile brightening her face. "Check this out." She held up a batch of cookies, glittering with sprinkles. "These will definitely sell." "Looks amazing." Emma grinned, feeling buoyed by their energy. She walked over to Jake, who was scribbling ideas on a notepad. "Let us make a timeline," he suggested, flipping the sheet. "We need to hit every idea we've thrown around: bake sale, community fair, anything else we can think of." Emma nodded vigorously. "Let us reach out to the local businesses. Everyone can pitch in something. We can even ask for sponsorships to get things rolling." As they worked together, the diner filled with them discussing ideas and hopes. Prizes for the raffle were decided, and they outlined tasks for the community fair. It was electrifying to feel the camaraderie blossom with every minute spent in fervent preparation, but doubt seeped back in. Emma couldn't shake the irony of wanting to keep the diner open while simultaneously praying each effort would be enough. They had 2 weeks, and the only sound echoing back in her mind was the stranger's laughter. Feeling overwhelmed, she stepped outside, breathing in the crisp morning air. She could see the bustle of everyday life in their small town, the neighbors chatting, dogs being walked, kids riding bikes. It struck her, every person she saw was a potential supporter. The diner connected them all. It was a lifeline. She pulled out her phone and tapped on a local group on social media. "Community fair for the diner." She typed, explaining their situation and how everyone could help. She hesitated for a moment before hitting post. Moments later, notifications began pinging on her phone. Comments poured in, filled with enthusiasm and support. "I'll bring my band for the fair." One comment read, "We can help with decorations." Read another. Her heart warmed as she read each message, a swell of hope expanding within her. As the day progressed, the diner transformed thanks to the community's participation. Old friends and new faces began to show up, drawn by the cause. Little by little, money trickled in, donations filling jars on the counter amidst the clatter of spoons and bowls. Emma and her friends worked tirelessly, fueled by determination and a sense of purpose. She could see the stranger's shadow fading as the crowd grew, replaced by laughter and connection. They were bonding not just over food but over the belief that home was worth fighting for. Later that evening, a small group gathered outside the diner, and Emma found herself speaking to them, her heart racing. "Together, we can do this. Not just for the diner, but for each other. Let us show that our home matters." More cheers erupted, a chorus of shared hope blending with the twilight. But as the excitement reached a peak, the chilling figure of the stranger suddenly flashed across her mind. Was he watching? Would he allow them this victory, or would he pull back the curtain when they least expected it? Emma's cheeks flushed with fire as the question lingered in the air, unresolved and daunting. Could they truly keep the diner alive, or was the stranger's challenge just the beginning of a fight for something much bigger? The next day dawned with even brighter potential. Emma opened the diner, a renewed energy coursing through her veins. The community buzz she had ignited the night before still lingered, an electric shiver fueling her hope. As she set up for the morning rush, the familiar sounds of the diner filled her heart with warmth. The clatter of plates, the sizzle of cooking bacon, and laughter ricocheting off the walls felt like an anthem celebrating what they were all trying to protect. Jake arrived early, his face flushed with excitement. "I've been thinking more about the fair," he said, bouncing on the balls of his feet. "What if we had a local talent show? Everyone loves to showcase their skills, and it would draw a crowd." "That's a great idea," Emma replied, her heart swelling at the thought. "We could charge a small entry fee and create a prize for the winners. It'll bring everyone together." Lisa rushed in with baskets of fresh muffins, each one bursting with blueberries. "Did I hear talent show? Count me in. I'm definitely going to perform." Emma chuckled, her mind alight with the possibilities. "What will you do? Sing? Dance? Juggle?" "Something along those lines," Lisa winked. As the day shifted into afternoon, Emma took a moment to sip her coffee and bask in the camaraderie surrounding her. Customers flowed in, chatting and spreading the word. Friends gathered at tables, families swapped warm smiles. They were more than just patrons, they were a united front, motivated by love for the diner and each other. That evening, the diner was buzzing with ideas as everyone gathered to finalize plans for the community fair. Emma could see the realization in her assembly this was more than just saving a building, it was reviving a sense of belonging. "Let us create a story booth," Jake suggested. "People can share their memories of the diner, and we can compile them." "I love that," cried Lisa, her excitement contagious. "We can turn it into a book. Imagine reading it years from now." Suddenly, Emma's phone buzzed, and the serene atmosphere broke, a sharp silence cascading over the group. On the screen was a message from the mysterious stranger. Her heart pounded as she opened it. "I've decided to come to the fair. I hope you're ready." A chill washed over her, the stranger's presence looming large, creeping back into her consciousness. "It's from him," Emma murmured, the weight of every glance directed toward her palpable. "He's coming." The crew exchanged worried looks, their upbeat energy now tinged with uncertainty. "What does he want?" Lisa whispered, her brow furrowing. I think he wants to see if we can rally together," Emma replied, uncertainty creeping into her voice. "It's a real test of our mettle." As voices sliced through the tension, Emma refocused on their goal. "Regardless of his presence, we won't back down. Let us make this fair the best it can be. If he thinks we can't do it, we'll show him what we're made of." With shaking hands, but resolute hearts, they carried on. But in the midst of their determination, uncertainty flickered in the back of Emma's mind. What if he held the power to unravel them? What if everything they worked for could vanish at his will? That night, Emma tossed and turned, sleep evading her. The unexpected thrill of their unity now danced alongside the specter of dread. They had not just drawn a crowd, they had drawn a line in the sand. Would the community's resolve withstand the stranger's challenge, or would it buckle under pressure? As the fair drew closer, Emma knew one thing for sure: everything hung in the balance. The diner's future and the strength of a community forged in love and resilience. The question lingered: would they truly triumph, or was destiny about to unfold a different chapter? The sun peeked over the horizon, bathing the diner in a soft orange glow. Emma stood at the window, sipping her coffee, feeling the weight of the day ahead settle on her shoulders. Today was the day they would finalize everything for the fair. The thought of the mysterious stranger's arrival loomed over her like a storm cloud. Could they truly pull this off? As she opened the door, the familiar bell chimed sweetly, and the smell of fresh coffee poured into the air. Lisa arrived with a tray of muffins, a determined smile plastered on her face. "Good morning, Emma. Ready to rock the fair?" Emma nodded, her heart lifting a little at Lisa's enthusiasm. "We need that energy today. We're all in this together." Jake came in next, carrying a stack of handmade flyers. "I printed a bunch for the talent show. We need to get them out to everyone in town." He began handing them out, his excitement infectious. Emma's heart warmed at seeing her friends so invested. The diner filled up quickly, each table occupied by regulars and newcomers alike. Stories buzzed around the room, the vibrant energy palpable. Emma felt the strength of community pulsing through the walls. Yet, in the back of her mind was the reminder of the challenge they were facing. "I just don't want him to ruin this," she confessed to Lisa, her voice dropping low. "What if he finds a way to drive everyone apart?" Lisa placed a reassuring hand on Emma's shoulder. "He's just a man, Emma. He can't take away what we've built. This diner is about more than just brick and mortar. It's about us." Emma smiled softly, grateful for Lisa's unwavering faith. They continued their preparations, crafting signs, arranging booths, and breathing life into the fair. The evening grew closer, and everyone felt the excitement, the anticipation gently mixed with nervousness. When the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the diner, a hush fell over the room. Emma could sense it: the moment was here. They gathered with all their plans laid out before them and voiced their hopes. "Let us go over everything one last time," Jake suggested, glancing at the list they had meticulously crafted. "Who is performing? What activities do we have planned?" Emma nodded, fueled by the unity around her. They took turns sharing their roles, laughter mingling with anticipation. But beneath it all simmered the unspoken fear of the stranger's arrival. Suddenly, the door swung open, and everyone turned as if drawn by a magnet. A figure stepped inside tall, cloaked in a dark jacket, scanning the room. Emma's breath caught in her throat. It was him. As he approached the counter, a hush enveloped the space. She felt all eyes on her and the stranger. "I was told there would be quite the spectacle here," he said, his voice steady yet dripping with challenge. Emma stood tall, her heart pounding like a drum. She remembered the spirit of her community and found strength in their unity. "We're ready. And we will show you what we're capable of," she replied, her voice firm but trembling. The diner was electric, the moment hanging in the air. It was more than a test, it was the spark that could either light their resolve or extinguish it. With time ticking away and tension rising, Emma realized this was not just a challenge for her diner, but a fight for their shared identity, for everything that made them a family. What would happen when the fair kicked off? Would the stranger's presence become a catalyst for unity, or would it shatter everything they had worked for? Emma's stomach twisted with uncertainty, but one thing was clear: the first step into the unknown was about to unfold. As the fair began, a sea of faces flooded the diner, laughter rising like a sweet melody that danced through the air. Emma's heart surged with anticipation and fear. She needed this to work not just for the diner, but for everyone who called this place home. She stood at the entrance, watching as families filed in, sporting smiles that illuminated what would soon become a joyful battleground. Jake emerged beside her, breathless with excitement. "Here we go. Everyone is buzzing about the talent show. Let us make it unforgettable," Emma said, her determination igniting like a flame in her chest. The booth sprang to life, bright banners fluttered, games bustling with energy, and music drifted from the stage where Lisa prepared to sing. Emma glanced at the handmade sign that boldly proclaimed, "Save our diner." It was more than just a slogan, it was a rallying cry. The clock ticked, each ringing chime echoing the urgency of their situation. Emma couldn't shake the specter of the stranger in his dark jacket. He had promised to observe, and the thought lingered like a dark cloud, but she couldn't let that dim the brightness of the fair or her spirit. As the first act took the stage, a local guy strumming his guitar, Emma felt the energy ripple through the crowd. Laughter erupted as the audience danced, the moment uniting them in shared joy. Families swayed together, and parents lifted their children onto their shoulders, beaming with pride. It filled Emma with hope, a feeling she hadn't fully embraced since this endeavor began. The hours flew by, success flooding the diner in waves. Donations poured in, and signatures for their petition multiplied, each checkmark a testament to their strength as a community. Then, just as Emma began to feel a twinge of triumph, she spotted the stranger hovering at the edge of the crowd, watching like a hawk. Her stomach twisted. He'd appeared to keep his word, but what was he planning? With a resolve that coursed through her veins, she pushed past the inner turmoil. "Keep going, keep fighting," she whispered to herself. With renewed vigor, she stepped toward the stage as the final act approached her own turn to speak. Heart racing, she grabbed the microphone and smiled nervously at the crowd. "Thank you all for being here today. This diner isn't just a building to us, it's the heart of our community where we gather for laughter, share stories, and support one another. We've shown that we can come together to save what we love." The crowd erupted into cheers, the energy electrifying her. Emma spotted Jake waving from the front row, his pride shining through as if he understood the weight of every word she spoke. But then, the stranger interrupted, stepping forward. "You've done well so far," he said, his tone deceptively smooth. "But we all know it takes more than a fair to save a building. You've played at being a community, but can you really be one?" Doubt flickered like a candle in Emma's heart. "What do you mean?" she challenged, her voice steady but the crack of fear edging close. "Let us make this interesting, shall we?" He smirked. "Let us see if your little efforts today can actually raise enough to keep this diner safe. If you don't meet the target," his gaze hardened, "I'll be back to seal the deal on the diner's fate." An uncomfortable silence fell over the crowd. Emma's pulse quickened, the pressure weighed heavy, squeezing at the edges of her resolve. She wanted to crumble, but she couldn't let fear win. Then consider this a call to arms, she declared, grounding herself. Let's show that our love for community runs deeper than any challenge you place before us. The applause rippled through the crowd again, hearts synchronized with a determination Emma could feel washing over her like waves crashing against a shore. It was a challenge she embraced. They would stand together against him. As the minutes rolled on, the fair continued, but now it had transformed, morphed into a full-blown movement. People gathered more, sharing their stories not just to celebrate the diner, but to celebrate each other. Old animosities faded away, replaced by shared laughter. They met throughout the night, with Emma planning another fundraiser for the following weekend. Hopeful and determined, they utilized this moment to build even more connection. Days turned into whirls of canvases, baked goods, and posters. Each evening they filled Emma's kitchen, hands dirty from flour and paint, but smiles alive with purpose. They were creating something powerful, their vision for the future. Finally, the day came when they would present their funds to the city council. A sense of finality settled like a blanket over their efforts. This was it. Emma stood in front of the council, a mixture of resolve and vulnerability in her heart, and laid bare the story of their community, their unyielding spirit, and the legacy of their diner. After what felt like an eternity, the head of the council leaned in. It's clear your community cares deeply, and we've received multiple petitions and signatures showing overwhelming support for your cause. Emma held her breath. With that in mind, we are willing to give you some leeway, though we do require more formal proposals for the diner's future and how the funds will be used, he continued. But we believe it deserves a chance. The room erupted in cheers, and tears pooled in the corners of Emma's eyes. This was it. They had done it. The diner would live on, the spirit of the town untouched. As the news spread through the crowd outside, joy erupted like a celebration of fireworks. Tears flowed, laughter echoed, and Emma felt the warmth of victory surging through her veins. They had made it through the storm and emerged stronger than ever, embracing one another. They knew this journey had truly transformed them. It was not just about saving the diner. It was about finding the heart that bound them together, the family they had all been searching for. In that moment, as Emma looked at the faces of her friends, neighbors, and family, she realized what she had once feared had turned into the greatest treasure of all: hope, love, and the knowledge that together they could face anything. So here was the call to action, friends. This is your moment to be part of something bigger. Subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for these incredible transformations. Comment below with your thoughts on this journey. How did it make you feel? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need a reminder of the power of community. You need to be part of this journey. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support.